Hi there, you're watching ET now. I'm Ruchi Bhatia, and over the next 30 minutes, we've got a very special show lined up for you. COVID-19 has upended all aspects of life, and businesses and economy are no different. So, how is India Inc. re-strategizing? Is Bharat really leading the way? What is India Inc. going to do for the upcoming festive season? And more importantly, are the digital trials really getting converted into adoption as well? We will be talking to the best minds in India Inc. over the next 30 minutes to get a sense on that. Joining us now on the show is Mr. Satyajit Sen Gupta of the Dainik Bhaskar Group. We've got Mr. Mayank Shah, the category head at Parley Products, Mr. Narayan Sundaraman, the head of marketing at Bajaj Auto, Mr. Amit Tiwari, the vice president marketing at Havells India, and also Ms. Ranjani, the general manager marketing at Tanishq as well. Gentlemen, thanks for taking your time out and speaking with us at ET now. Mr. Shah, if I can first come to you, what's been your experience after COVID-19? We've seen the Indian economy opening up significantly, but is Bharat really leading the way?
Yeah, so Bharat definitely is leading the way. And as we saw, right from the initial stage, the urban India, especially the metros, were the one which were really affected more. And largely, even as we speak today, I mean, while, we are seeing contraction rates going up in rural India, but given that rural India is relatively much isolated and the population density is much lower there, that rural India, still contributes a significant part of, the growth that's coming in, especially in the foods category. So that way, Bharat is something that's really leading the charge and driving the growth of food as a category.
Absolutely. Mr. Narayan, if I can come to you, we're hearing from Parley, they say that Bharat is leading the way, but how has COVID-19 changed and, allowed Bajaj Auto to re-strategize their business? What is it that you guys are doing at this point of time? And where do you think the recovery is going to really come in from?
I think a story for each category would be a little different. And if one just reflects on the impact of COVID-19, essentially what has happened is that mobility is the first thing that has got hit. So while people have to consume, food, beverage, that's for sustenance, what has really happened in the last 6 months due to the lockdown is that fundamentally movement of people, movement of goods, and therefore the mobility sector has been, hugely compromised. Now, as what we've observed is that as things have unlocked, and there are degrees of unlock that have happened. There are various sectors within the larger economy that continue to remain restricted. So, for example, hospitality, offices in large metros as well as the cities continue to be at staffing levels which are quite low. So overall, I think mobility is still to sort of come back to some sense of normalcy. And therefore, that has an impact on a category like ours, which fundamentally is a subset of mobility. I think the second thing is that, incomes have taken a hit. And, there is this entire sentiment, which is, I think, consumer confidence has taken somewhat of a hit, which is very important for a category like ours, which is a highly discretionary category. So having said that, what we are seeing is that in the last 3 months or so, the demand situation has started to come back for in certain mobility categories. Where in motorcycles, we also have a three-wheeler business. So certainly some amount of pullback has happened. It is largely led by Bharat, if you can call it that, for the same reasons that Mayank had identified, that there is less density of population. The agriculture sector has been, the rains have been good, the crops has been good. So, we are seeing that trend continue. I mean, rural was always important for us, and that continues to be so. In urban centers, we are cautiously optimistic. Let me put it that way. I wouldn't say that things are back to normal. And there are a whole host of variables which, need to play out for some normalcy to resume.
Right. You've hit pointed towards a lot of important points, and I will be taking forward each of them in my discussion going forward, especially on the fact that incomes and consumer confidence is hit. So, what are businesses like Tanishq also doing? And I will be getting to Ms. Ranjani in just a while from now. But Mr. Tiwari, if I can come to you first, what's been your experience with respect to where things are headed in terms of the Indian economy, and how is Havells looking to re-strategize during these times?
So what I hear from Mayank as well as Sundar, I think there is a small difference which I actually think is, in any ways, if you see for last 5 years data from 2015 to 2019, in any ways, your major metros are only contributing to a significant, the growth percent is only 28 to 30%. But if you actually see the entire particular market movement is happening from your semi-urban, urban and other particular tier 2 markets, which are around close to 40 to 45%. What has happened is just because of the COVID and obviously because the lockdown impact was not that big in those particular markets, obviously your demand is actually coming in those particular cases. If you talk about us, a lot of pent-up demand which could not be fulfilled in first 2-3 months is actually now coming, and we're actually able to fulfill those entire outcome that we need to build in across. As a strategy, I think every market is very important, whether it is a tier 1 market or tier 2 market, but we also have to see where the consumer demand is coming. And definitely the consumer demand for us, because we operate in almost on an average 31 to 32 categories, it is very sporadic across the India to look, and you have to see all the markets are important and equally important in that case. Online becoming one of the very, very key important aspect, because today consumer is also very wary of going and buying the products, and online will actually play a huge differentiation today when it comes to consumer experience and fulfilling those demands.
Right, we will be talking about the digital experience as well. But Ms. Ranjani, if I can come to you, the fact that incomes are dropping, consumer confidence is dropping, how has that impacted business, during these times for Tanishq?
So, Ruchi, as you very rightly said, for us, the challenge has always been to identify where the consumer confidence is more robust and where it's more muted, and to put out offerings and to put out solutions for the consumers that fit into their current reality. There were parts of the sentiment which were very robust around the investment side, and people were looking at gold as a safe haven. And we said, okay, how do we sort of create opportunities for consumers to come into Tanishq with that as a segue? There were also weddings that were getting planned. People were planning for weddings in Q3. So there was a lot of committed purchase towards jewelry where the consumer confidence was cautious, but not as muted as other places. So it was about how do you create segues there for the consumers to come in and participate in their wedding purchases in a safe environment. So some of the strategy that we designed was to recognize different consumers in different markets across different needs, and to be able to take this cohort strategy into action. But one overriding piece that was dominant was that how do you create a safe environment for consumers to shop? While they might be committed to their purchase, they were also worried about how do they execute their purchase, and which is where the whole gold standards of safety at our stores, the very intense protocol that we followed at our stores, the kind of empathy and outreach that we did our consumers in reassuring that their experience could be safe at our stores, and alternatively could also be supplemented through the digital or the omnipresence. So I think it was the most important learning coming out of COVID has been this ability to be agile, adaptive, and to be able to deal with multiple India scenarios more than ever before.
Mr. Satyajit, if I can come to you, that's a very valid and an important point that has been raised by Ms. Ranjani as well. The fact that you need to be, or businesses need to be more agile, they need to be more nimble-footed, they have to think on their feet and become up to speed with the changing environment. What has been your experience during these times?
So non-metros already played quite a large part in the sales of most categories. But what has happened and what we are noticing while speaking to lots of advertisers, many of them on this panel itself, that this time the locomotive is made in Bharat. So it's very clearly, the locomotive that is leading the recovery is made in Bharat. And we, as the largest newspaper group in the country with substantial presence in digital and radio, have been trying to connect this by being the gateway to the non-metros, which is beyond the 7-8 metros of the country. Our entire effort has been towards this single point agenda, that how do we get the customers to come back as soon as possible to advertisers, because that's the only way in which we can make our revenue. So we have worked on that. Advertising is one part, it plays a role, but there are several other mechanisms which we have worked in order to get to that objective of getting advertisers back to getting customers back to advertisers as soon as possible. So that's the one big role that we are trying to play.
Mr. Sengupta, in your experience, has consumption changed significantly, even though incomes have have seen some sort of a hit, business confidence is down, but has consumption really moved from urban areas or from metros towards non-metros?
So what we have noticed is that, and this was pointed out before, that the effect of the pandemic has been much less in the non-metros to start with. Definitely due to the density of population, also because of the fact that, the initial part, the metros, got a lot of cases, and therefore there was a lot of panic here. The fear factor was much less in the non-metros, so to speak. Stronger support systems exist there. The markets opened up earlier there. So, for first week of June, most of our markets were open. So essentially, that has helped a lot in getting the consumption back fast. And if you look at category after category, we have looked at categories like automobiles, we have talked about that. August was a month where they came back to growth, again, led by the non-metros after 9 months. Household appliances, are doing pretty well, most of them. Mobile phones are doing well. We have been speaking to them. FMCGs are doing very well in our markets. And the traction they're showing in the non-metros is definitely much more. In fact, in August, we also noticed that real estate, which we thought would take a lot of time, has really come back in our markets. And we, the way we gauge it is the kind of advertising we are getting from real estate. That's really come up, so much so that in August, we came back to almost normal paginations as far as ad volumes is concerned, led by these 3-4 categories that I'm talking about. Even jewelry, in Madhya Pradesh, a local jeweler actually opened up a showroom during this time, and there was a lot of jewelry advertising which followed from many other, players as well. So we see a lot of action in many categories, and August was a good month for us. September, we see that continuing. What we are also looking at is that this is a very different year. This year, we have an entire month between the end of the Pitru Paksha, of the Shraddh period, to the festive start, the Navratra start. So, and this is the Adhik Mas. So, and, we have been looking at this period as a very, there are some very auspicious dates for, purchase. So we are looking at how this can be another, how can there be a season before Diwali? So how can the season be extended? And how can we help advertisers to gain traction during this time? Because everyone realizes that can be a good thing.
Ruchi, if I may come in, there's an interesting point that both Mr. Narayanan made and also Mr. Sengupta made. That mobility is under a little bit of stress, and it is still in the making, and it's still coming back. I think that has also impacted the non-metros, that a lot of consumption has gone localized. So if typically people were traveling into metros to do their larger wedding purchases or the larger purchases, because the mobility is not as seamless or as safe, and they're finding and discovering safer and better options in their local confines. I think that is also to some extent adding to the more positive outlook with the non-metros.
Right. Let me get Mr. Shah in on those 2 points. On the fact that there is an experience by some of your panelists that consumption is getting more localized, and secondly, what do you make of the upcoming festive season? Do you believe that the non-metros are showing, given the fact that they're showing more and greater resilience to COVID-19, the upcoming festive season could be a game changer of sorts?
Yes, consumption, largely is localized, and people are avoiding, moving out or, taking any form of transport unless they have their own. And that, in a way, as Mr. Sundaraman said, also is a trigger for auto industry, where, two-wheelers have seen that kind of growth in semi-urban and rural areas. People are looking at some kind of safety and preferring, rather than public transport, their own means of transport. Coming to the festive part, festive is going to be definitely, important time. It otherwise also is an important time, but this time, given the restrictions that we had right from the lockdown to, earlier hard lockdown, and now, the way we are opening up in a phased manner, it's still not life, as it was normal prior to the COVID era. So, festive would present, an opportunity to most consumers to probably try and, get back to that normal way of living, of course, with all the precautions and everything. But it also will give them, a reason to spend, probably, socialize a little bit with all restrictions, of course. So right from, maybe gifting to, although we saw some kind of, pent up demand coming in last month, but I think that still is not. And, there would be, we saw in different parts of globe, different kind of buying happening. And there was also, revenge shopping and stuff like that. So people normally look out for, opportunities to celebrate, to, have some means of, recreation, entertainment. And this would probably, festivals or the festive season would probably provide an ideal platform for them to, really put aside their worries about COVID, or, the kind of, complete negative this thing about, the well-being of the people. So, of course, they will take care. Of course, they will have to, take all the precautions. But this would present an ideal opportunity for people to really, try and bring their life back to, a little bit of normalcy, where they're going out, they're buying, they're probably, presenting things to their loved ones. So that way we are looking at festive season as one of the opportune times, or a good opportunity for, probably marketeers to up their ante and ensure that, they're getting back their businesses on track.
Right. Mr. Sundaraman, if I can come in on that, a few days ago, I was speaking with the director at AIMS, Mr. Randeep Guleria, and he said that India is now at a point where we're seeing a lot of COVID behavior fatigue. And even as the numbers of coronavirus are going up, the fact is that people are sick and tired of sitting at home, if I can put it like that. Given the fact that the upcoming festive season, we've seen almost 6 to 7 months of India Inc. almost being people in India almost being locked in within their homes. Do you see the upcoming festive season as a big opportunity for the automakers?
Oh yes, certainly. I think even in normal times, this is a COVID year, but just as Mr. Shah said, I think in biscuits, confectionery, even categories like watches and jewelry. Festive is a huge consumption opportunity in this country. It's part of our culture. So I think even pre-COVID that was the case, and given the kind of last 6 months that we've had, certainly we are looking quite. We're really looking forward to festive, because to get people into the consumption mode is very important. As I said, for the last 6 months, for a variety of reasons, people have gone off consumption. Let me put it that way. Things have not, April, May, there was a complete lockdown, very difficult for people to consume. But now things are opening up, and I think festive is going to be, all automakers and many other categories will be looking at festive with, a very close gaze. So, I can tell you what our perspective is. And the way the auto companies and we approach it is that we've continued with our, slate of new launches, and all of these happen prior to festive. In our category, it's not during festive, but the quarter before, which is equally important. So the pace of some of our introductions has been pretty in line with what we did in the previous years. And that's been a big achievement from our back end, from our R&D as well as production, to get some of those new products to the market, so that when festive time comes, all our customers can make that choice. So from that perspective, I don't think our approach has changed from previous years. Of course, as the other panelists were saying, it's a matter of how quickly you can respond to, demand. So, for example, currently, what's been happening for the last couple of months? Last couple of months, for example, there would be a state which would go for a lockdown. Now, if things are locked down there, you need to divert some part of your supply to somewhere else where the demand is still there, or robust. So that kind of agility on an ongoing basis and on operating basis has been the order of the day.
Oh, absolutely. Let me get Miss Ranjani in on that. What's been your experience? And given the fact that, we're seeing COVID-19 changing behavior patterns, consumption patterns also significantly, do you believe people are now looking at digital in a better way to get a sense of the kind of products that they want to buy? What's been your experience with respect to that?
Yeah, Ruchi, we're seeing very significant strides towards digital. But as I maintain that humans are creatures of habit. And COVID has been a very distinct time when these habits have been challenged and different people have adopted and adapted differently. So we have, and jewelry per se is being more traditional in its buying process. Having said that, we've seen about 1 million visits per month on our website, and that's like a significant movement up in people engaging and initiating their discovery journey online. So digital adoption has for natives been that more people have started buying online, and we've seen our e-commerce business really spruce up. A lot of people are willing to engage online, whether it's through live chats or chatbots or booking an appointment and getting into a video calling. A lot of people are also happy to be able to do a fair bit of discovery, choose their products, and then go into the store and say, now I want to see it for real and see how it works. So digital has definitely helped people. And because jewelry is a very involved purchase that takes a lot of time, it's helped people to sort of shift a significant part of their engagement journey in a purchase to a virtual space. And they have adapted depending on their own comfort level to different services that we are providing, which are between buying to assisted buying to video calling online. So I think there is, and this is something I do believe is here to stay, because once people have found the convenience of it and gotten over any inhibitions of the medium per se, they are not going to go back to the life as usual. They see this as a better means of their and more enriching in their purchase journey.
Let me get Mr. Tiwari in on that. What's been your experience with the move towards digital, and do you believe it's going to be here to stay? Because yes, people are looking at a lot of products online, but that has to get converted into adoption as well, isn't it?
Okay, so I was just mentioning about Rochi that adoption is already there. If you actually see the quantum jump in terms of the category upbeats that are going, it is going to the tune of 100%. If you talk about in terms of people purchasing as a consumer durable as a category, it has actually gone to more than 100%. Because your adoption is not only in terms of product, it is also the platform that you're actually adopting. And the amount of downloads and the amount of transaction that is happening, a 3x jump into the payment gateways that has actually happened in non-metro itself is a significant proof that things are really moving in a very, very fast and a very, very rapid adoption space.
Mr. Sengupta, we're running short on time, but quickly, if your closing comments, what's been your experience with respect to the adoption that we're seeing on from the digital trials as well? How is that changing people's consumption patterns, and is that really going to drive the way forward?
So very clearly, we have also seen a lot of increase in our digital traffic. As I said, we have considerable digital assets as well. However, what happened in our case is that our circulation, and this was very different from the metros, but the circulation in our markets came back extremely fast. So we are already doing 85% of our pre-COVID numbers as far as our print circulation is concerned. So the pattern of consumption is very different. So in a typical city which we cater to, a person is reading the newspaper in the morning and then looks at the digital feed to look at updates throughout the day. So it's not that that digital is the only thing that he's looking at. There is a complete calendar or a complete day schedule to the way the news is being consumed. So in the morning, one reads the newspaper. In fact, engagement levels have gone up. We have seen that the time spent with the newspaper has gone up. And then, of course, and COVID has become like, every time you'll see in the evening how many people, how many cases, etc. So over the duration of the day, one looks at it. And we are also looking at solutions which are, led by print, but also integrating in a way that we can deliver considerable reach to advertisers.
Okay, all right. On that note, Mr. Sengupta, Mr. Shah, Mr. Sundaraman, Mr. Tiwari, as well as Ms. Ranjani, appreciate you taking your time out and speaking to us at ET now. Clearly, Bharat is going to lead the way. India Inc. Looking at the upcoming festive season in a big way, and here's hoping that things get back to normal pretty soon. Now, on that note, it's a wrap on this edition on the show. Many thanks for watching.